Cody could be that controlled by Robyn.
Here's what they don't want you to know about how Cody and Robyn really get paid. It's strangely satisfying to see Cody and Robyn finally having to put in some real work.
My sister's closet is basically our business venture.
Their storyline might not be the most exciting, but watching them actually earn a living now feels like poetic justice.
Like when our funds were all together. So you paid into the family account.
Previously, there was a single TLC contract that covered the entire family. Payments went into a central account controlled by Cody, who distributed allowances as he saw fit. That setup meant Robyn didn't need to film regularly to get paid, just being part of the family was enough. Now, with no one left in Flagstaff to support their screen time, they're front and center out of necessity. Mary was the last connection, and she's gone. Now, they actually have to show up and participate.
No, we'll do a card game.
Just so you all know, I'm not moving, so...
No, nobody plays chess.
Tonight we're going to have a family fun game night.
It's clear they're scrambling to keep a storyline going, cue the sudden appearances of Robyn's older daughters. It's likely this is connected to Dabsark, the LLC Cody uses for his current household. TLC reportedly pays that entity, and Cody then doles out funds at his discretion. If the daughters are earning from appearances, the money likely goes through Cody first. Whether they ever see it is questionable. More likely, their expenses, housing, cars, insurance, are covered, and the rest is managed on their behalf.
And it went to the majority of the kids' cars, but not Leon's.
I paid the car payments.
Historically, each wife received an allowance from the family's TLC earnings and contributed to a fund controlled by Cody. That meant Robyn had access to her own allowance, Cody's money, and the family pot. Despite all this, they still managed to burn through funds on questionable choices. Now it seems any money the older daughters might earn is also filtered through Cody and Robyn.
So what we've done is we've contacted this company, and we made an agreement with them to settle the debt.
The justification might be that the funds are being saved or managed, but considering past financial behavior, it's easy to believe that money helped cover the mortgage on their massive home. With no real storyline of their own, Robyn is now featuring her daughters to maintain relevance.
We are going to have hosts. McKelty and Gwendolyn are in fact the hosts. I know.
Game nights, awkward family dinners, and carefully staged scenes are all attempts to appear functional.
Okay, let's go, go, go. Let's clean up the dishes and move the furniture. We're gonna have a hot seat couch.
Robyn's long-standing aversion to household duties now extends to screen time. She seems to believe she's above both. The truth is, neither Cody nor Robyn brings enough personality or intrigue to carry a show.
Cody, and we go through these long periods of time, and it really makes you think, what's going on? It doesn't make you have a lot of trust that things are going to go fairly.
But the growing tension between them is starting to surface, and watching that unravel is becoming its own kind of entertainment. The show arguably reached its natural conclusion with Christine's wedding. Since then, the remaining scenes have felt forced.
Dean.
That's why he actually gets himself dressed now, because she tells him what to wear.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason to. There's a purpose now.
So I'm really looking forward to the wedding itself.
There's little interest in another wedding storyline or watching adult daughters try to figure out dating under parental supervision. Any attempt to generate drama feels manufactured. What would make for better viewing? A surprise visit from estranged family members? Legal or financial trouble?
Coming up with a down payment on a house, not hard. We could have done that, but Janelle was refusing to do that.
A move to a downsized home? Even a genuine, unscripted vacation would be more compelling than another lifeless game night.
Everyone says Cody's the head of the family, but this scene proves he's just Robyn's puppet. Janelle was absolutely savage.
What Robyn was pushing Cody to do, and I think it's a shame if Cody could be that controlled by Robyn that he...
Her comment about Robyn controlling Cody was perfectly timed and undeniably intentional. She knows how much it rattles them when anyone suggests Robyn has influence, especially since they always insist Cody is the all-powerful head of the family. That comment, a direct hit.
And you were backing my conscience saying you can't leave.
I didn't say you can't leave. I didn't say you can't.
Even better, Cody himself admitted that Robyn pressured him to stay with Mary longer than he wanted. Without her pushing, he claims, he would have ended that relationship sooner.
He's not the only one who had to sort of honor his commitments and just be there because it was what you needed to do.
And Janelle didn't miss a beat. She used that moment to twist the knife. It was brutal.
And you could almost see the steam rising from Cody's ears. Janelle kept swinging.
I don't think anyone's even thinking about Cody and Robyn, so.
I don't think anyone is really thinking about Cody and Robyn, she said. Cold, accurate, devastating. No one's checking for their happily ever after storyline, and they both know it.
I wish Robyn would just let Mary go, honestly. Cody let Mary go a long time ago.
What makes it even more ironic is Robyn's apparent hope that Cody might string Janelle along the same way he did with Mary. Seriously? That might have worked before, but Janelle's not playing that game. She's out and she's done. Time and time again, Cody and Robyn expose themselves without realizing it. The only difference now is that the rest of the family is finally done playing along. The silence has lifted and the truth is out. Hopefully this momentum carries into whatever version of a tell-all is coming. It's unlikely the host will challenge them the way they should, but watching Janelle land her hits while she can, that's justice in motion. She knows how to press his buttons. After all the years he spent pushing hers, it's a long overdue reversal. The secrets are out, the control is exposed, and the old power dynamics shattered. Here's hoping they air a full season recap. Watching Cody and Robyn forced to face a playback in real time would be the perfect ending. They called it a symbol of love, but the truth behind that quilt will make your jaw drop. Here's a quick and hopefully not too dull explanation for anyone unfamiliar with quilting.
Kent, this was something you put heart and soul into.
I put so much into this.
Making a quality quilt is no small feat. It involves several time-consuming detailed steps.
For mine and Cody's 10th anniversary, I made him a quilt. I used a bunch of t-shirts.
First, there's the top, the decorative part most people think of as the quilt. But that's just the beginning. This stage is called piecing, where different fabrics are stitched together to form a single, flat design. Next comes the layering process. The quilt top gets placed over batting, a fluffy inner layer that gives the quilt warmth. Imagine sheets of synthetic snow. And then all of that is laid on top of a large piece of fabric called the backing. To temporarily hold everything together, you use big, loose stitches known as basting. After that, the actual quilting begins, stitching all 3 layers together with small, dense stitches. This can be done by hand or with a special sewing machine that often produces decorative, sometimes questionable-looking designs. And finally, the quilt needs to be bound, edges trimmed and encased in fabric so the layers stay intact and don't fray.
This tattered bunch of t-shirts is just like an old unraveling of our 30-year experience.
In short, if a heartfelt symbolic project meant to represent decades of love and commitment is still unfinished after 20+ years, that says a lot about both the project and the relationship. Also worth noting, the quilt didn't even have binding. It was still in the unfinished stage.
For mine and Cody's 10th anniversary, I made him a quilt.
And then came the request for the shirts back. A bizarre move. Most people, when ending a long-term relationship, wouldn't go out of their way to ask their ex for something sentimental, especially if it means reopening old wounds. It defies logic.
He probably thinks that every bit of our relationship issues is my fault.
There's really only one explanation. It was meant to hurt. Asking for the quilt or the shirts it was made from was likely a calculated move to reclaim something he assumed held emotional value. It was never about the fabric.
Married, and she took over everything that I had on a certain level. Wasn't even thinking about the idea of plural marriage.
There's also a possibility someone else pushed for it. Someone who has a pattern of wanting to control sentimental artifacts, who might not want anyone else to have visible reminders of shared history.
My plan has been to cut this up and give it back to him.
As for the quilt itself, there's a chance parts of it had already been taken apart before filming. That would explain how quickly it was dismantled. But regardless, it was never a completed piece. The design wasn't especially complex, and much of the real effort, especially the quilting, was never done.
This is going to be weird to cut up.
In the end, the act of cutting it up felt more symbolic than sincere, less about craftsmanship, more about closure. Robyn just redefined who counts as family, and it's worse than you think.
There was less of this focus on the family, the group. They wanted to focus more on the kids that had moved away.
Robyn's comment about some mothers focusing on their adult children instead of the core family, defined apparently as only the children still living at home, speaks volumes. It highlights her ongoing inability to see beyond her own narrow perspective.
So for Christmas this year, it's going to be Aspen and Mitch, McKelty and Tony, and the babies, Isabel, Truly, and I.
Realistically, why would Christine and Janelle choose to spend the holidays with just a few of their children, Isabel, Truly, Savannah, and Dayton, while being dismissed by Cody when they could instead celebrate with nearly all of their kids, surrounded by grandchildren, joy, and peace? That decision seems obvious, and it's not as if Robyn would ever do the same.
It wasn't my first Christmas without everybody else, but it was my first Christmas without Mary. There's so much that's unwrapped here.
She would never spend a Christmas away from even one of her biological children to spend more time with the older kids from other families. She always prioritizes her own children, which isn't inherently wrong. The strange part is that she seems to expect everyone else to treat her children as the center of the family universe. Perhaps she meant that the core referred to everyone still living in Flagstaff, but even that definition excludes many of the children. And let's be clear, most of the older kids didn't move far away. It was the parents who chose to relocate to Flagstaff, leaving many of their children behind. Imagine being a 20-year-old living just a few hours away, only to hear that you're no longer considered part of the core family. For someone who identifies as an empath, the lack of perspective is striking. That comment revealed a lot. Labeling the Flagstaff-based or still-at-home children as the core is not only dismissive, it's also deeply disrespectful to the adult children. It suggests that Robyn and Cody genuinely expected Christine and Janelle to set aside their own grown children and grandchildren to spend time with Robyn's family during the holidays. It's an unrealistic and unfair expectation.
The requirements that I had everybody make for Christmas, the fact that I've been away from Janelle's house quite a bit, and having this experience with Ariel.
There's also the issue of double standards. Robyn's adult daughters still live with her. Her adult son, despite having graduated from college, reportedly resides in an RV on their property. So while she asks others to sacrifice family time, she makes sure she never has to.
In the beginning, I really asked everybody to not travel, to not go anywhere, to not do anything.
Then there's the contradiction. She expresses frustration when the other parents visit children out of state, yet hasn't shown much interest in encouraging visits to her own household. Nor has she been seen urging Cody to maintain strong relationships with his minor children who live nearby.
So Isabel's surgery was yesterday, and last night was brutal.
And the entire situation around Isabel's surgery further underlines where the priorities lie. In the end, this isn't about where families spend the holidays. It's about who appears on camera. Things were simpler when others were willing to host, clean, and organize for family events, and Robyn could simply arrive with a jar of olives and a smile. Now that the dynamic has shifted, and she must take on those responsibilities herself, the reality no longer matches the vision she had. What if I told you Cody Brown never wanted a family? He wanted an audience.
I think I need a lot of attention.
Cody finally admitted it. He needs a lot of attention. That one statement may be the most honest thing he's ever said.
And basically I said, if you want to be in the family, then you have to understand I need you to run your will tomorrow.
It likely explains why he embraced polygamy to begin with, not out of spiritual conviction, but because being at the center of a large, complex family kept the spotlight squarely on him.
Not a specific instance, but what I get jealous about most is time.
For years, he thrived on the dynamic. Wives competing for his time, children seeking his approval. It all fed his ego. But as the family evolved, the wives gained independence, the children grew up, and people started forming their own identities. Cody could no longer maintain his role as a central figure of their universe, and he didn't know how to handle it. It fits the classic narcissist pattern. When you pay attention, they often reveal themselves. They admit to being selfish, to getting bored easily, to seeing relationships as transactional. As long as their needs are met, things are fine. But love? That's conditional. If their partner stops making them feel admired or important, they withdraw.
When a wife, like Janelle, undermines your rules, she undermines my ability to actually lead in the family.
They're not interested in understanding emotions. They're preoccupied with how those emotions affect them. If someone is unhappy, it's seen as a personal attack, not a cue for compassion. Cody has demonstrated this repeatedly. Statements like, "blame yourself if I don't love you," perfectly encapsulate a mindset where love is dependent on constant validation. When that validation stops,
so does the affection.
If you don't want to be married to me anymore, you don't want to have an intimate marriage with me anymore, flip and tell me.
In recent years, he seems increasingly disengaged, and there are signs he may be struggling personally. His relationship with Robyn appears strained.
I think he has a favorite wife.
Despite once being portrayed as his true partner, they now seem out of sync. She appears emotionally drained, and he seems restless, disinterested, possibly even yearning for the freedom of single life. Managing 4 households and 12+ kids was once a source of power. Now it looks like a burden he no longer wants to carry. From the beginning, the focus was almost always on Cody, his preferences, his plans, his happiness. His wives were expected to revolve around him. It wasn't until they had their own homes and lives that they started to emerge as individuals. And once they did, the dynamic shifted, and not in his favor.
I don't see my sister wives very often. We do things separate now. We really are living separate.
He often blames external factors for the family's challenges, like being forced out of Utah, but it's worth noting that much of that attention came after he sought out a television audience. Had he simply continued living quietly, it's likely they would have remained where they were. His desire for recognition brought them visibility, and with it, consequences.
From Vegas to Flagstaff, and Christine's house is on the market. My house is just barely on the market.
The decision to uproot the family from Las Vegas only added to the instability. They had a working arrangement, and yet it was discarded in favor of chaos. Whether intentional or not, the disruption once again centered Cody, the one place he's always wanted to be. Robyn thought she won until no one was left to lose to.
We have to sit and dream for a little bit here.
Robyn never stops talking about herself. It's always her hopes, her dreams, her vision for the future, as if no one else had one.
I started noticing a really big change in him.
But Mary, Christine, and Janelle didn't plan for their children to be abandoned or for their husband to check out emotionally and physically.
I would have thought he would call Isabel and say, hey.
Christine never imagined her daughter would face surgery without her father at her side.
I am trying to collect all the documentation.
Janelle didn't expect to be dragged into legal battles over property after the death of her son. And Mary definitely didn't expect petty fights over a blanket or to be shortchanged on what she was owed.
Cody's making his choice.
You don't get to build your ideal life by bulldozing everyone else's. It doesn't work that way, or at least not forever. The other women deserve happiness, and it finally looks like they found it. Robyn, on the other hand, seems stuck in a loop of entitlement and disappointment. Her energy is draining. Everything around her feels heavy and joyless.
Christy and I both know that that's a code word for you weren't nice to Robyn.
She still complains about not being included in events, but conveniently forgets the choices she made when it was her turn. There's a glaring lack of self-awareness.
I screwed up so bad.
Her world is collapsing, not because others betrayed her, but because her fantasy came at the cost of real relationships. And instead of acknowledging her husband's failures, his absence during a health crisis, his favoritism, his manipulations, she leans on well-worn scripts. That sitting on the porch with sister wives speech, it's less a dream and more a distraction from reality, that he isn't the man she married. Once charming and devoted, he's now distant, defensive, and divisive. And behind it all is a belief system that equates eternal salvation with plural marriage. She sees the others walking away and feels robbed, not just of the life she wanted, but of the afterlife she was promised. Now she's left wondering what's next, clinging to a vision that no longer exists. Even in the small things, the bitterness shows. Cody didn't claim he wanted to keep mementos. He said Robyn did. She couldn't even let Mary keep a single item without turning it into a contest. It's not about sentiment. It's about control. In the end, it's not just about a broken dream. It's about refusing to face that the dream was built on other people's sacrifices and that they finally stopped sacrificing. Robyn didn't lose her family. She drove them away. And here's how.
Christine had mentioned that Robyn really doesn't want to live a plural lifestyle.
If Robyn truly wanted plural marriage, she'd support Cody in dating other women, instead of expecting the former sister wives to return to a situation they clearly found miserable. But that was never the real intention.
What she seemed to want was control, a built-in audience she could dominate. Now that plan isn't looking so great. She's no longer the new wife, just the older one with an unfortunate aesthetic that's hard to ignore. Let's just say she leaned fully into the Lego look.
There's a lot of men interested in Robyn, and they were sort of trying to get around me and to her.
And Cody's theatrics? Claiming other men from church might steal her away, as if anyone's competing for a human bobblehead with a flair for drama. In public, they tend to make people uneasy. Some avoid even approaching them, and not out of respect, more like discomfort. The energy is unsettling, like something out of a fever dream. The only real plot twist that might shake things up? A young woman in her 20s, with children, showing up and insisting Cody leave Robyn, marry her, and adopt her kids. Ironically, Robyn never even wanted a legal marriage to begin with. As for Cody's connection to the AUB, Apostolic United Brethren, he claims they asked him to cut his hair. More likely, they warned him not to go public with their lifestyle on television. Christine's father, a well-respected figure in the AUB, reportedly lost all patience with Cody long ago.
I know Mary has just recently gotten a release, like what we call a release, which is a divorce.
Now, with 3 wives gone, one of whom formally requested a spiritual release, his access to potential partners through church or community gatherings has dried up. At this point, he's aged out of the hustle and seems disinterested in starting over.
Rights to make any kind of claim on Cody's property, like we're not legally married.
Robyn, meanwhile, holds little appeal within the polygamist community. No longer of childbearing age, her value in the plural marriage dynamic has declined. While she might consider leaving Cody for someone wealthier, it's doubtful anyone's offering. And by now, she must realize that being someone's wife doesn't equal security or joy. Though she claims Cody is the one blocking the idea of plural marriage, she's placed her own limits, refusing to relocate even though proximity to a church community would be essential, and demanding guarantees that any new addition to the family would result in nothing but harmony. An impossible ask. At this point, it's not about spiritual principles. It's about stability and finances. Robyn isn't pushing for a plural family. She's holding out for a plural income. That's it for me today. Thanks for being part of this little corner. It means more than you know. Until next time, take it easy and ta-ta for now.